Leaders aren't born. They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special, qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
Station. I'm in the zone, man. Network.
I'm impressed.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, and father of 5. I'm also an expert on drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids, and there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org.
And lead the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
I'm more resourceful than I thought.
My suit can still make an impression.
My video games are still game changers.
And my lamp can bring others a bright future.
Because when I donate my stuff to Goodwill,
it helps fund job placement and training for people right in my community.
Now my stuff gets a second chance.
And will give someone in my community
a second chance too.
Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. That's goodwill.org. This message brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Uncle Dan? Mom?
Dad?
If you store your guns properly, so not just anyone can get to them.
I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside.
Safer when walking home.
Safer when my friends come over.
As your neighbor, I'll feel safer.
As a school teacher, I'll feel safer.
We'll all feel safer.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
Station. I'm in the zone, man.
Network. I'm impressed.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and today we are talking about career and career success with job coach Doug Poynter. My goodness, I'm so sorry. Doug Poynter. And you are, is it the founder of the School of Success, or what's your
Yes, that's my business, www.theschoolofsuccess.com. And right now we're all about career. I help folks primarily. I have 3 ideal clients: folks that are dissatisfied with the position that they're in. Maybe they don't feel passionate about their work. They want to do something that's more meaningful. Also work with folks who've lost a job, maybe been reorged out of an organization to find that next career, hopefully one that they would love.
Right.
And then I have a real passion for graduating students, worked with college students who are ready to get out into the world. Mm-hmm. What would be a better time to find what you love to do than right out of college?
Right. Yeah. Well, I have a whole batch of them. I had them in class last night, and one of them actually approached me and said, they know me as Dr. Larde, and they said, Dr. Larde, I have a job interview tomorrow. I'm terrified. Do you mind if I leave early so I can prep for the interview? I mean, it was such a nerve-wracking thing.
They can be, yeah. And there's some ways that I teach people to prep for interviews so that you feel better going into the interview. If you know how to match your skill set up to what they're asking for in the job description, and learn how to tell the things that you've done that would answer the question, why would we want to hire you? Mm-hmm. And you know what those are by going through that job description and understanding what they're looking for and thinking to yourself, all right, when have I done those things? Mm-hmm. Those are the stories that I want to tell because that's what they want.
Right, exactly. And I think a lot of people miss that. And, it seems to me like, that's exactly what you want to do. And I don't know if it's nerves or the lack of skill in terms of interviewing. But
I think what it is that people are not familiar with how niche this marketplace is right now. Companies feel like they can get the exact person that they want. And so what I find most candidates doing that creates an issue is they have an idea about what it is they're proud of. And many times it's excellent work. I'm very proud of it, but it might be L, and this company wants me to do A, B, C, D, and E. So I'm telling them about L, and they don't care.
Wow.
It doesn't make the impression that we want it to make. So what you need to do is understand what it is that they want. You can do that by really knowing that job description inside and out, doing research. Find some connections to that company, people that you know who may know folks at the company or people that you develop in the organization who can tell you what it is that they're really looking for, so that when you tell the stories, answering the questions in the interview, you're telling stories about experience you've had that matches up to what that company wants. That's magical in an interview.
Wow. I think, and that's one of the things that, when we spoke earlier, and we will talk about this with more depth about networking. For some reason, networking is my Achilles heel, but job interviews is like I am amazing when it comes to to job interviews.
It's a performance.
And maybe that's what it is, because when I've always had this saying, and it may sound very arrogant, but if I get the job interview, I got the job.
Yep.
And I go in with that mentality, and in my mind, and I've told people, and you can tell me if this is totally wrong, but I have told people, go in there in your brain with the most arrogant mindset that you can possibly have in your brain. Now, you don't want to show them arrogance, but if it's in your brain, then what comes out is confidence, and that's how I've always approached it.
It's perfect. I'm the person who can solve their problems and achieve their goals, help them achieve their goals. And if you know that because of the research that you've done and the experience that you have that will illustrate that, then you can actually feel as confident as you're thinking.
Yeah.
And that comes across in an interview.
Right.
The other way, to look at it is to make friends with the opposite side of that. So what's the worst that can happen? I didn't have the job when I walked in the door.
That's true.
If I don't get the job, I haven't lost anything.
Right.
And it's a learning experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's key is the learning experience piece of it, because sometimes you do have to go through it a few times to really understand how this thing works.
Exactly.
So, yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I think is really interesting is that people will put, because you said consider it a learning experience, they'll put everything into it, and if it doesn't work out, their whole entire world is shattered. And so that mindset that you're talking about, going into it, well, I didn't lose anything, is so important, because when you go in and you have everything banking on this, it makes your performance a lot less, it affects your performance negatively.
Oh, yeah, and with this marketplace, let me just set that aside for a second. You're probably not going to get the first one. What I always tell my clients is, if you were to ask me what's the likelihood that this one individual opportunity is going to come through, I would say slim and none. But if you were to ask me, well, I've got this whole bucket full of opportunities, what's the likelihood that one of them out of there is going to pay off? I would say it's very high. But the key is, how often am I putting opportunities in my bucket? How much networking am I doing continually, no matter where I am in the interview process with any organization? I always have to keep networking, keep putting, as we say in sales, keep filling the pipeline, because companies take a long time to make decisions nowadays.
Yeah.
And if you only have one person to go to the dance with, if they say no, you're going to be not a happy camper.
Standing on that wall.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to go into the trending topics.
Primary election.
Lack of diversity.
Gas prices.
Michael Jackson. Trending topics.
Okay, so what is trending? So, Stephen Hawking, we know he is a genius, and for those of you who don't know who he is, look him up. Look him up. He has given us an extra 100 years.
So it's kind of like the doctor who tells you have 6 months to live, and then when you can't pay the bill, he gives you another 6 months.
He gives you another 6 months.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Okay, so according to MSN.com, Stephen Hawking has come up with yet another doomsday prediction for humans, this time giving us just 100 years to skedaddle. So maybe it isn't an extra 100 years, but we have 100 years to get out of here. Professor Hawking's apocalyptic predictions began in 2015 when he mentioned in a Reddit Ask Me Anything session that super intelligent might wipe us all out. So he's cautioned against contacting aliens. In November last year, he gave us 1,000 years to leave Earth. So actually, this is a reduction in time.
Wow.
And in March of this year, he hinted that a one-world government might be the answer to our myriad of problems, which is interesting because if you read the Book of Revelations, a one-world government was one of the final steps before the whole destruction of everything. So is he trying to speed it up for us? I don't know.
He's impatient.
He is impatient. Now the respected physicist is warning that humanity needs to become a multi-planetary species within the next century in order to avoid extinction. So, I don't know.
The Terminator is upon us.
Who knows? I don't want to laugh it all off, but it's. I don't think I'll be here in 100 years, but my children and grandchildren may be. So
we'll let them worry about it.
We'll let them worry about it. We'll prepare them. So that is the latest. That is what's trending. Stephen Hawking, and he has done a lot of amazing work. He's made some breakthroughs in science, to say the least, and so. So maybe we might not want to take it with a grain of salt. We might want to actually look into this and see what we can find out.
Who knows?
Who knows? All right, so
we'll all be working in jobs in 100 years. Though jobs will still be part of our lives.
Yes, jobs will still be part of our lives. Now, what that looks like under a one-world government, I don't know. That's a little scary. A one-world government. Can you conceive of that in your lifetime?
That's real scary.
That's real scary. I don't even know if that would happen without people. There would have to be some fringe groups all over the world just refusing to be a part of that.
Well, when you look at human activity, it appears like the government sometimes is separate from human activity. And so, it might not be all that bad if you think about it. It might make no difference at all.
All right. Yeah, because we're oblivious to what's going on over there anyway. So, wow. So that's the trending topic for today. And let me know your thoughts. We'll be right back.
Major key alert. Life is like school. You will be tested, so pass it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
Marie Callender's knows that you may not have time to roll out dough for a perfectly flaky crust that's made from scratch. Or enough time to mix vegetables with all white meat chicken in a homemade gravy. She knows you may not have a moment to crimp the edges of your favorite chicken pot pie. But Marie Callender's does. And when she's done, all you need to do is find time to grab someone special. Sit down and savor. Marie Callender's. It's time to say.
1 in 7 Americans will struggle with addiction during their lifetime. Want to know how you can help? Go to heretolisten.com for tips and tools to help turn addiction around. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you A, line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No. Sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, get spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time blow drying, more time texting.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have
Ta-da! Twinsies!
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Great leaders aren't born, They're made, and not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and I am joined by job coach Doug Poynter, and he is here to talk to us about our careers, and it really looks like we're looking at it from a wide spectrum of angles. And we were talking about job interviewing and how to secure the job and everything. But I want to back up a little bit and first talk about how you got into what it is that you're doing with this. Coaching and helping people with their careers.
Well, I got into it the same way I got my first round of clients, and that is my job was eliminated. I was a sales coach and a coach manager at Circuit City. I had created a job for myself at Circuit City Corporate, coaching people.
Oh,
and,
really?
Yeah, and then my job was eliminated.
Okay.
And I got a seminar at an outplacement company and networked my way into the outplacement company off the seminar. And so got a job in outplacement, which is simply when organizations reorg and lay people off, they will hire our company to be part of the severance package to help folks find their next position.
Okay.
And given the fact that all of us in outplacement are adjuncts, then there's room for me to have my own business, so I have private clients also. My primary client in outplacement is someone who's lost a position. My clients in my own position are folks who are dissatisfied, as I had mentioned before, maybe not feeling passionate about their work and want something more meaningful.
Right.
Maybe they feel underpaid. I do outplacement also. As long as I don't compete with my own company, I'm good. And then I do work with the college students also coming out of school. So
right.
I got in this business the same way most of my outplacement clients got to me, which is I was reorged out of a company.
So you've been there. You've walked the walk.
I know exactly what it feels like.
Yeah. Wow.
Exactly.
Wow. And would you say that this is happening more frequently or less frequently in terms of layoffs and those kinds of things with organizations?
Certainly not like it happened in 2008, 2009, and 2010.
Okay.
But, even in great economic times, there are layoffs simply because companies do lots of mergers and acquisitions and there's job duplication. And so that'll happen also. That's a sign of a booming economy, and still folks are looking for a job. Turnover is still huge out in the workforce nowadays, so folks are always keeping their eye on the market. And so finding that next job, finding that job I love, the career I love, that's something that's always going to be with us. And I predict it's even going to be with us 100 years from now as the world is ending.
As the world is ending.
Yep.
Well, what is, oh God, the question came to me and it just left me. I don't remember what it was.
I bet it had to do with networking.
We have definitely got to talk about networking for sure. And I think what I was asking was about with regards to the careers and people leaving the job. You said turnover is higher than, or is high. I don't know if you said it's higher than it has been in the past. What do you attribute to that, to the higher rates of turnover nowadays?
Well, I spoke to an HR group not too long ago about outplacement, and then they raised some topics on their own, and one of them that was huge was turnover. And what they were saying is we're seeing turnover still at a high rate, even with a better economy. And one of the HR folks there said, in the millennial age group, folks are wanting to move. They want a job that feels meaningful, a career that feels meaningful, and if it doesn't feel that way, they want to move on to find something that does.
Right.
And so that's part of turnover, and I just believe it's become part of our work environment. It's just not unusual now for folks to work 3 years and then move on to another job. Yeah.
Now, do you think it has anything to do with, I think this is I'm asking you a leading question because I know my answer. Does this have anything to do with the millennial generation and the way that they approach working and careers?
Oh, yeah. I will tell you, I had a group of millennials that I was working with, and I said, if I was able to tell you one thing that you could do that would make you seem outstanding in your career at your company, and was the easiest thing you could think of to do. Would you be interested? And they all said, oh, yeah, what is it? I went, are you ready? Put your seatbelt on because this is revolutionary. Show up for work. And they went, what? I went, no one believes you're going to show up for work. You've got that reputation out there, you know, and it's undeserved in many instances, but everyone feels like you're not going to be dedicated. If you just show up for work, people are going to love you. And if you can't come to work, call in. And one of the guys in the group started laughing. I said, what's so funny? And he said, I just got an award at my company today for being the most outstanding employee because I show up for work. And everybody just looked at him. He said, that's all.
Wow. And that should be a given.
Well, it should be a given. But you know what? Here's what I'm saying. We take whatever we can get. If the way I can make advances in my career is just simply show up and be dedicated, then I'm going to do it.
Wow. You know, and I can agree that has been some of the biggest challenges with regards to, and you know, and I don't really want to knock the millennials. We love you millennials, but that has been the greatest challenge that I've had with regards to having interns, or you know, is showing up, having them in class, is showing up, and showing up and being present while they're there.
Well, I'll tell you an experience that I had that I was amazed at and not shocked, but I didn't think it was going to be that way. The work ethic in the millennial generation is unbelievable. I had kids in there that were working 70 hours a week.
Wow.
And they work hard. And I said, you know, if you can couple that with understanding something, you're not going to be an expert in anything in 6 months. It's not going to happen.
Right.
It takes time, and it takes patience. And if you just understand that, you're going to go great places because your work ethic is huge.
Yeah. Well, that is a great asset to really allow them to see for themselves. All right, so we're going to look at some research.
In the interest of science.
Okay, so today's science looks at, we will be looking at social class identity. I don't know how many of you have heard of social class identity, but it's that idea that, well, you're looking at middle class, for example, and this is a quote, middle class status suggests that individuals have worked hard to attain their societal positioning and in many cases have used education to pave the way. Thus, there is a desire to remain in this status or move up to greater affluence. So it's that idea that I'm going to do whatever I can to maintain my social status in this society. And often, with regards to middle to upper class, that has been attained, you know, through education, but if not education, steadily climbing in some kind of career path. And so social class identity is we don't really think of it that way. We don't really consciously think about ourselves as identifying with a particular social class. But as soon as we are asked to step down and live in perhaps a home or drive a car or accept a salary that is a step down from what we're used to, we suddenly remember or realize, wait a minute, this is not in my comfort zone.
That's not me.
This is not me. And so people do what they have to do to try to maintain that particular social class.
And what we find in the job market is one of the concerns out there is when folks have lost a position and they're at a high level, it's very difficult to take a job at a lower level because the organization that you're talking to is firmly convinced that you're just taking it for the quick money and you're going to get out of there as soon as the job that you love comes along. And that is an issue.
And the question that comes up is, why are you taking this job?
Exactly.
What is that about?
So, you know, a lot of times it is about just getting the quick money.
Right.
And I'll ask my folks, I'll say, if you get a bigger job, are you going to leave this one that you're thinking about? And they go, yeah. And I'll go, that's what they understand.
Right. And they ask that question. They will ask you that question.
They will.
So. All right. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Green light. Hey, girl. School zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah. Street. Pizza sounds good. Ball in street? Girl in street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on that vacation to Aruba.
Weird. Not weird. Not saving now means no money later. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
When it comes to saving money, don't act like a baby.
Goo goo gaga.
Be the boss and make a budget.
I'm the boss, baby.
You're the boss of me.
I am the boss of you.
Are not.
M2.
Are not.
M2.
Need a little help?
Aren't you going to do any work?
I'm very busy delegating.
Create a personalized savings plan.
We could share.
You obviously didn't go to business school.
And get other tools and tips at feedthepig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council. Major key alert! Life is like school. You will be tested, so pass it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by GetSchooled and the Ad Council.
If you're looking for that ratchet, you're in the wrong place. It's the nation's urban internet station, Sensation Station Network.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela. And I am joined by Doug Poynter, who is a job coach. And we're talking about careers and climbing. And we were just talking about social capital theory. Did I say it right? No, I didn't. It was social class theory. And with social class, it's really doing whatever you have to do to maintain that social class that you have. And of course, it allows for moving up. But moving downward causes discomfort, and you're doing whatever you can to not go downward. What's interesting, though, is a colleague of mine, her daughter was at Harvard, and she conducted a study looking at downward social mobility. We don't usually hear about that. We hear about upward social mobility. We want to do better than our parents did. We want to climb, this generation to do, to climb higher than the previous generation. She was looking at this concept of children actually being okay with going downward in their mobility from their parents. So their parents may have both been, in the case of her study, they were college-educated parents whose kids chose not to be college-educated, who chose to kind of just settle for, this is not necessarily a bad thing, it's just an interesting phenomenon, but settle for a lower level lifestyle, if that's a good way to say it, than what their parents had. So less luxurious, not necessarily the suburban home, but maybe something that, and maybe even just kind of traveling around the world and not necessarily having a stable place to call home. Interesting concept.
Yeah, and I have a client who is a recruiter, and she lives in She lives in an RV, basically, and drives around the country.
Wow.
She loves it. And one of my millennial clients said to me one time, he said, we really need your services because we're the first generation that graduates college and then moves home.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes,
while there are, while that study does suggest there are quite a few who are maybe wanting what they feel is a more meaningful and less materialistic lifestyle,
that's a really good way to look at that, yeah.
Yeah, there's still quite a few people in the younger generation, the millennial generation, who are wanting to advance up the totem pole.
Right.
And I see both of those.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I actually need to read her study with great depth because I would love to have a conversation about that on the show alone. But one of the things that I definitely want to talk about is this whole concept of networking. Yeah.
The big bad word.
The big bad word, yeah. And some people, I see some people, even if they don't love it, they fake it really well, and they are geniuses. They're masters of networking. And I watch them and I think, wow, you must really like this stuff.
Well, that's one of the maybe the myths about networking is that people who are good at it just love it. And there are people who love it, but networking is not normally comfortable for anybody. It's something that you have to make yourself go out and do, push that wall down.
Right.
But there's some easier ways to do it. The standard networking conversation, for example, from someone who's lost a job is, hey, do you know of a job? I've just lost my position. Or maybe even somebody coming out of college. I'm graduating in this area. Do you know of a position in this area?
Right.
And the answer normally is no. You know, unless I'm a recruiter or a hiring manager who has a job right then and there, I probably don't know
In
of
that
one.
field, yeah.
Probably don't know of one. So the answer is normally, no, I don't know of anything right now. And then the person networking will almost always say something that is the equivalent of, well, if you hear of anything, would you let me know or keep me in mind? Who's going to say no to that?
Right.
You know, no one's going to tell you, no, I'm not going to help you.
Yeah.
So everyone says sure, and then you don't hear anymore. And you begin to wonder what's going on, you know. And what we find is that 50 to 70% of candidates get their next position by networking. So there's got to be a way to do this, you know. And what I noticed the first year or so that I was in this business was that the formal networking conversation that I was teaching people to have did nothing. Meanwhile, all these folks were coming to me with these quote-unquote accidental scenarios where a conversation they didn't even expect to be a networking conversation, wasn't set up to be a networking conversation, produced a lead that produced a job.
Right. Wow.
And so I began to ask myself, what are the components of that accidental conversation, and could we reproduce them on purpose?
Book. Doug Poynter, Accidental Conversations.
Well, the book is out there.
Is it?
Oh, yeah.
It's called that?
No, it's not. It's not called
well,
that.
You need to write
you know,
it too.
the title of my own book just left my brain, but it's out. I'm out there on Kindle and Amazon.
So you do have a book.
I do have a book. It's an ebook, and the title will come to me in just a moment.
And we will put it out there.
Yeah. But at any rate, the accidental conversation could be had on purpose.
Okay. Oh, I love that.
You know, and you can actually begin to see who might be interested in networking with you. If you ask somebody what they've been up to, and they tell you, they will normally ask you what you've been up to. If they don't, they're probably not interested, or they're in a hurry.
Which I will do if I'm not interested. I'll say, okay, cool, thanks, good.
Right.
But then, like you said, that's probably not a great candidate for networking anyway.
Exactly.
They've shown you right there that.
Yeah, that's not a buying signal. Say in the sales game,
right.
You know, and so if they ask you back what you've been up to, then you could say, well, you know, currently I'm in a position at XYZ company. I'm kind of keeping my eye on the marketplace, trying to figure out where it is I might, I might think about looking. It pays to keep your eyes on the marketplace nowadays.
Right.
You know, if you're in school, you can say the same thing. You know, I'm just graduating. I'm not sure where my skill set matches up. I majored in. You know, and I'm not really sure where that skill set matches up in the marketplace. Now, if that person is interested, that's when they'll say, well, what did you say you did again? Well, I majored in, business administration or accounting. Oh, have you thought about XYZ company?
Right.
Do you see?
Yeah.
If they say that to you, that means they know something, and that means they're interested. And your next question will be, well, yes, I have, no, I haven't, whatever the case may be. By any chance, would you know someone there? You see?
Yeah,
And so we use that to develop contacts in the organizations that we're interested in.
Okay. So it's not necessarily the hard sell and the give this to me now, and, it's more of an organic conversation leading to that.
But here's the thing, Dr. Pamela, here's the thing, is that I always suggest to people that you always have it in your mind. I'm going to have this conversation if I have the opportunity. Nobody but you needs to know that what you're doing when you ask people what they've been up to is you're seeding and you're beginning to look for opportunities to have that conversation.
Wow. Well, this leads beautifully into this week's Balance Challenge, and we're going to come back and talk about seeding.
Keeping your balance with Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela.
Okay, so this week's Balance Challenge, I want you to step out and venture into networking. So a lot of people are great at it. So if you are already great at it, here's another way to do it. So I want you to try a different way of networking. If it's something you're already doing and you're doing well, try a new angle. And for those of us who are kind of like, I'm not really feeling the whole networking thing, this is a great challenge. So between now and next week, I want you to engage in 10 accidental conversations.
And that's doable. I give my clients 3 networking conversations a day as your goal.
Okay. So you can do 10 in a week.
You can do it.
Yes. So what you do between now and next Thursday, 10 accidental networking conversations. Do you have suggestions for how they should open that up or how they should get that started beyond? Is it pretty much what you were saying?
There are several ways you can do this. If you're talking to someone that you know, ask them what they've been up to. That's a great way to get them to ask you. And you know what? I might be a little bit easier on them than you are, because I would say if you ask that and the person doesn't follow suit, you've at least attempted a networking conversation.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. I think that's
And then
good.
if they do follow suit, then you can continue.
Keep going.
If you're meeting people that you don't know, what do you do? It's a great question, because then they're going to ask you back what you do. And if they don't, once again, you've attempted and you have tried that networking conversation. If they do, then you're off to the races. It's the same conversation after
Right. So the key is to get them to ask you what you do by asking them about themselves.
Exactly.
Right. And people love talking about themselves.
They love it.
So you really can't go wrong there.
You're right.
Yes. So there is your challenge for this week. You mentioned seeding. Is this the process that is called seeding, or what is seeding? How would you describe that?
Well, seeding is not being salesy.
Okay.
You know, salesy is hitting them in the face with what it is that you want.
Okay.
Seeding is just dropping some conversation in there. You know, like I said, when they ask you back what you've been up to, well, you know, right now there's been a reorg at my company. I've taken a package there. What I'm doing right now is I'm just trying to figure out where my skill set matches up in the marketplace. That's a seed.
Okay.
And what happens is if you have someone who's a willing networking partner, that's when they typically say, well, what do you do? Same way, as I mentioned before, if you're in the job already. What I'm doing now is I'm trying to keep an eye on the marketplace, just figure out where my skill set matches up. I may be interested, I may not be, but just kind of trying to figure out where what I do matches up in the marketplace. It pays to do that in this job market.
Right.
Well, what do you do means that that person has followed your lead. And you didn't have to go and say, well, do you know of anything?
Yeah.
You didn't have to go and hit them over the head with it.
Right, right. Okay. So, and then being able to, so say you have a job, you have a business that you want to promote to somebody. How do you seed that?
Well, you know, I think you and I were talking before, you know, and I'll give you an analogous example. When I do volunteer work and I'm doing seminars for folks, I'll say in my seminar, you know, I see this issue come up quite a lot with my private clients. And invariably, somebody will come up to me after the seminar and say, do you take private clients?
Right, because
you
you've planted that seed.
Yes, you just let it drop, you know, about your work experience, what you're doing. And you do it on purpose.
Okay.
You know that you're doing it. Guess what? You're the only one who knows that you're doing it, and it works beautifully.
Right. So that counts for the Balance Challenge. If you're able to drop some seeds, you know, with regards to what you do, that is certainly a form of networking.
It is.
Is there? Well, when we come back, I want to talk about this. But is there a formal? You know, I want to know the do's and the don'ts of networking, because I know a lot of us who are very nervous about networking worry about whether or not we're saying or doing the right thing. So when we come back, I definitely want to talk a little bit about that.
You got it.
All right, we'll be right back.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. You know, I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Uncle Dan? Mom? Dad? If you store your guns properly, so not just anyone can get to them,
I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside. Safer when walking home.
Safer when my friends come over. As your neighbor, I'll feel safer.
As a school teacher, I'll feel safer.
we'll all feel safer.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
Major key alert! Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by GetSchooled and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and
someone being bullied online, you can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. I want to be a warm place on a cold day. Football stadium. I want to be a bike that races around the country. I want to be a bench on a forest trail. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. Brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Okay, so 5 tacos of cheese and a large soda. That's $10,012. Please drive around.
10,000 what?
It's obvious you're buzzed and driving.
I've only had a few. I'm fine.
Yeah, the food's $12, but getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Please drive around. Actually, just park and come in.
Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And so a new American industry has been born.
Sensation Station Network.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and we are talking about careers. Make sure you check us out on the liveexchangeradio.com. I have a YouTube page of all the shows that we've done. So if you've missed any of the shows, you want to go back and you want to watch this one or any other show, you can find it on the liveexchangeradio.com. Sensation Station Network also has an app. So if you want to download the app, make listening a lot easier, go to ssnatl.com and check out the app and go ahead and download that there. So before the break, I was saying that I wanted to ask you about the do's and the don'ts, the pitfalls and the moments of glory for networking. What are the do's and don'ts? What are the things you should or shouldn't do?
Let's talk about the don'ts first.
Okay.
There are two huge don'ts in networking.
I bet I've done them.
Well, I know that most everyone has done this one, and that is not networking.
Oh, yeah, I'm
That's
guilty.
huge. And what I find with clients is many times they'll do almost anything to keep from talking to somebody.
Okay.
They want to fire off an email or just apply for a job online, and that's very unproductive. We know that most people get their next position by networking. It makes people feel comfortable when they know something about the person that they're hiring, and there's nothing better than having somebody in an organization who can say great things about you to a hiring manager.
True.
So not networking is the biggest don't.
Okay.
The other huge don't is asking for help finding a job. You
Really?
see? Yeah.
But didn't you just say?
There's no language that I use, think about it, that said I'm looking for a job. I said I'm trying to figure out where my skill set matches up because I'm not completely sure.
It's language.
When you ask somebody to help you find a job, there's an automatic resistance that you never see right up front. But when no one gets back to you, and I do these talks all the time, and when I say, what happens when you say, do you know of anything? No, I don't. If you hear of anything, would you let me know or keep me in mind? I go, what happens? Well, everybody says yes. And then I always say to my audience, and what's the result? And they always fire back, nothing.
Nothing.
You hear nothing.
Wow.
And so that is one of the biggest mistakes that you can make. So what we do is we talk about information. We talk about what we're working on or what we don't know. I'm just trying to figure out where my skill set matches up in the marketplace. It's kind of like if someone were to ask you to help them with their garage door, you'd probably go, oh, okay, and then you'd be strangely absent because you don't want to go help them with the garage door. But if you were talking to the person and say, what have you been up to? And they say, well, I'm kind of working on my garage door. I can't get it to go down. They might say, well, what's going on with it? And you tell them, oh, I had that problem last year. I can help you with it. People will volunteer to help you if you don't ask them to help you.
Oh, interesting.
Does that make sense?
That's very interesting.
So that's what I mean by informal, quote-unquote, accidental networking. I guess probably the best example of that was a client that I had who's a scientist, and he told me he went to a cookout. And there were a lot of people there he didn't know, and he sat next to somebody, and he said, I did one thing I would never normally do. I just introduced myself to the person, and then I asked her what she did. And the lady told him what she did, and then she asked him what he did. And he said, well, my job coach says I'm not supposed to say I'm looking for a job. And he said everybody busted out laughing. And she said, okay, well, what is it you do? And he said, I'm a chemist. And she started laughing. He said, what's so funny about that? She said, we have an opening at my company for a chemist. And he actually got an interview and got an offer as a result of that.
Wow.
So you'd be surprised how people will follow suit when they're interested, when they hear what you're working on, and you don't hit them in the face with, I'm looking for a job, can you help me?
Right. I think we're going to need to go to a commercial break. Because I'm having a hard time breathing right now. So we're going to resolve my problem. I'm going to be right back.
Uncle Dan?
Mom? Dad?
If you store your guns properly, so not just anyone can get to them.
I'll feel safer when I'm playing outside.
Safer when walking home.
Safer when my friends come over. As your neighbor, I'll feel safer.
As a school teacher, I'll feel safer.
We'll all feel safer.
Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
You don't usually get a stock tip from a 16-year-old, but I'm here to tell you about a different kind of stock. It's called Better Futures, a stock for social change that's not about making money. Instead, you invest to help students like me go to college. This is beyond a simple donation. It's the opportunity for America to invest in its kids and take an active stake in the future of the country. The return on your investment isn't money. What you get back is knowing you protected our potential. So one day, that potential can grow up to become surgeons and architects, executives and engineers, people who can change the future just by being a part of it. My name is Alicia, and I am your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Hey guys, it's your girl Brenna B. I want to tell you about something pretty amazing. My friends over at Buckhead Laser Lipo have an option for you. You want to lose those inches? You want to get in shape? Spring is here. Summer is upon us. We have a way for you to lose those inches quickly. Immediately see results. $99 is your first treatment. No surgery, no pain, no downtime, just inch loss. Who doesn't want to be in shape for the summer? Buckhead Laser Lipo, 678-871-0097.
BuckheadLaserLipo.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. You know, I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Sensation Station Network. Radio 2, Atlanta.
Live Exchange, I'm all good now. I'm all good. I'm better. So you were talking about just different networking conversations, the do's, the don'ts. The don'ts is to not network, and the other don't is to ask for a job.
Yeah, that's the kiss of death.
Okay.
One of the big do's is to be talking about information. Tell people what it is that you're working on, what you don't know. I'm not sure where my skill set matches up. Another great conversation to have is when you get someone who's interested, who kind of bites on that and says, well, what do you do? Then you could tell them what your skill set is. I'm a project manager. I work in primarily on projects like this. Oh, okay. Well, have you thought about this organization? Have you thought about that industry? Then what you want to do is ask for contacts. If you have, yes, I have. If you haven't, no, I haven't. By any chance, would you know someone there? Another great conversation is if you are talking with someone who is connected to an organization that you're interested in. Instead of asking them, is there a job there that you know of that I could do? Say, hey, if I was interested in your organization, what would you recommend I do? Who would you recommend I talk to? Ask them how they got in. Ask them how they like the organization.
Right.
So it's all about gathering information, developing rapport, and then asking for someone's expertise. If I was interested, notice if I was interested does not say I'm looking for a job.
Okay.
It says if I was interested. It takes the pressure off the conversation.
Right.
What would you recommend I do? That's exactly how I got the last job that I got at Lehigh Harrison, my outplacement company, because I had a seminar there, and I asked the person who was facilitating the seminar, how do people get into this work? Do you see?
That's a good question.
And she told me the pathway. And then day 2 of the seminar, I said, if somebody like me was interested, who would I need to talk to? And she gave me the name of the person that I would need to talk to.
Right.
And that's how I got in. And so there's no pressure on those conversations. It doesn't feel like you're trying to make that person that you're talking to become your recruiter.
Right.
Which, unless your job is a recruiter, you don't want to be going around looking for jobs for people. You don't have enough time. You're covering yourself at your own company. You've got enough work to do on your own without finding jobs for folks.
Right.
So understanding that really can help your networking effort.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the best networking conversations that I had in the most recent past was with somebody who initiated the conversation with me. And so I tried to take notes on how he did that, because I thought, wow, that was pretty, because so this is at the gym, and I definitely don't socialize while I'm at the gym.
Right.
I just face forward, focused and everything. And this person got on the elliptical next to me and just struck up a conversation. Normally, I'm like, okay, and I just go back to, make it very clear I'm not trying to have any conversation. But the questions that he was asking, which, God, I wish I could remember them, pulled me in, and it didn't make me feel like, oh, gosh, this is going to be a burden. It actually was intriguing. So we engaged in conversation. Lo and behold, he's married to the best friend of a media personality that I have been following and studying for years, and whose style I actually try to emulate when I do this show. And so, and he said, oh yeah, they're best friends. They went to college together. They were roommates together. I can maybe arrange for you guys to have lunch.
Exactly.
What?
And so the advantages of having conversations with people, you'll find that the connections that you have are unbelievably close.
Right.
Beyond what you ever imagined, if you'll just have the conversation.
You'll just have the conversation. Because I could have said, I really don't talk while I work out, thanks.
Right. But, the questions that you ask can start these conversations. What have you been up to? What's new with you? What's new and exciting with you? What do you do when you're meeting people that you don't know? Generally can get people talking to you. And once you get that conversation going, that's when you concede.
Right. Yeah, that was probably the most powerful networking. So I was floored and I was shocked. And because it was never anything that I would have considered networking at all. And in that location, certainly not in that,
Exactly.
So.
The best networking conversations come accidentally.
Right.
And so, as I always say, let's understand what the components are and have the accidental conversation on purpose.
Absolutely. I love it. So I have a question of advice that I'm going to ask you, but first we have love notes, so we're going to take the advice of a listener first.
Love notes with Dr. Pamela.
Okay, so today's love note is really kind of a compilation of questions that I've received in the past, that I'm sure that you've received in the past, about negotiating salaries. And so the question is, what is the best approach to negotiating a salary, and when is the right time?
Let's do when is the right time first.
Okay.
I have candidates who tell me all the time, I don't want to waste the time of this organization, so if this job is not going to pay what I want, let's just find out now. And that way,
that from the beginning?
Oh, yeah. That way, I don't waste my time, and I don't waste their time. And I go, no, waste their time. You'd be surprised how often it is that folks will give you what you want once they want you on their team.
Let them fall in love with you first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because up front, if what you want is not what they want to pay, and they don't know how great you are, then they can use it to screen you out.
Yes.
So you want to wait to negotiate for more money after the offer is made.
Okay.
Now, here's what you've got to keep in mind. That company is offering you that position at that salary because that's what they feel like is market value for that salary. And so a lot of folks will get into trouble because, well, I made more than that at my last job, so therefore I deserve a raise in my next job. And the next job has nothing to do with your last job. You just got to remember, this organization is offering you what they think is market value. So what you've got to do is show them why you're worth more than their market value.
Okay.
And so if you can show them how you can bring them more than what they are imagining they're going to get, then they might think about paying you more money. So I've got some language that I use with folks that everyone who uses it gets more. I can't guarantee, you're going to get more, obviously. Right. But I will say, and I also can't guarantee you're going to get exactly what you want. But I had one client who told me I got $5,000 more, and there's only one thing I'm irritated with. I went, what's that? She went, it was so easy, I could have gotten 20, I bet, if I had just asked for it.
Wow.
So here was the language. When the offer's made, the first thing that you want to do is tell them how excited you are about the offer. First of all, I'm very excited about the position. I'm excited about the company and where it's going. And then you want to go in and start talking about your experience and what you can help them with. And I know with my experience in project management, if you're a project manager, obviously, I'm going to be able to help you solve this problem. It's a problem you know they have from the interview process and the research that you've done. And I'm also going to be able to help you achieve this goal, a goal you know they're desperate to achieve,
right,
and take it even further than you might imagine, which is why I'd like to see if we can get this closer to. And then you name your figure.
Okay.
And as I said, everyone who's used that has gotten more. I can't guarantee you're going to get, I can't guarantee that, but I will say that's been my experience. And I can't guarantee you're going to get exactly what you want, but it makes it much easier to get more money when you're showing why you're going to be worth more to them.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. That's a good one. So, and you said it works.
It works. It works just about every time.
Okay. Wow. So take that advice. And then what about the, I think you covered both, the how and the timing. So, yeah, you're good. We're good. So hopefully that helps. I know that's an point of contention, especially for young college grads, who are just getting out there and they have no clue even what the market worth is, for what they're doing, the market value is.
Do we have time for a little twist on that?
Sure.
Okay. So one of the things that we find that can set that up is if you handle the money question up front a certain way. So, for example, in a screening interview, many times right at the beginning, they'll ask you, well, what are you looking to make? Or they'll ask you, well, what did you make in your previous position? Or if you're working in a job, what are you currently making? The issue is if you throw out the figure and it's too high, they're not going to tell you that. You just don't hear back. You see?
That's the scary part.
Yeah. And so what you want to do is you want to hold on to that if you can. Now, the way that you do that is very subtle. And you just follow this language. It'll work about 50% of the time. When they say to you, well, what are you currently making or what are you looking to make? The answer to those questions is the exact same. Well, what's the range for this position? What you do is you just redirect them with a quick question.
Okay.
And the emphasis of your words make it easy for them to follow you.
Okay.
So if you ask me, well, Doug, what are you looking to make? I would say, well, what's the range for this position? About 50% of the time they'll tell you.
Okay.
And even if it's a little low, you say, that sounds pretty good to me. We can certainly keep on talking.
And if they don't tell you, what does it sound like? Do they just say, no, we can't tell you that? I mean, how do they?
They'll say, well, we're not authorized for that, and we just need to know what you're interested in. And that's when you say, well, currently I'm looking at positions that pay between X and Y. And that X and Y is the range for their position, which you can get at salary.com or Glassdoor.
That's good. Salary.com or Glassdoor.
That's correct.
All right. We'll be right back.
Now we come to the special feature of our program.
Sensation Station Network.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and we are at the top of the second hour. We are talking about careers with Doug Poynter, and he is the president of the School of Success. President, I'm giving you titles. Is that your title?
I'll take it.
He's in charge of, he's the head man for the School of Success, which is a company that helps people with job changes, career changes,
Outplacement, career development.
Yes, and so if you are, at that place where you're looking at changing your career or starting a new career or you're unemployed, this is definitely the show for you. But we're also talking about networking. So if you're an entrepreneur who is not looking for a job because you are your employer, this can actually help you quite a bit as well. One of the things that I mentioned is that I had a really great networking experience. It was actually last week. And the guy said that he would connect me with his wife, who's best friends with a media personality. I won't name her, but you better believe there will be selfies
right.
on Facebook should this happen. But that they're really close, and this is a person who I study people who host shows, and to really learn their style and to kind of just look at what works and what doesn't. And so she's one of them. She's like really high on the list, and he said, "Oh yeah, it's my wife's best friend, best friend," and that he can connect us, and that maybe she and this amazing media personality can have lunch. Wow! So now the ball's in my court. So the text was, we exchanged information. The text was, I reached out to my wife. She said, she'll be free next week, so she'll try to reach out to you. I thought, good. I don't have to do anything. I just wait for her to reach out to me. I see him at the gym again. He said, yeah, so whenever you can give my wife a call, go ahead and give her a call. I'm like, now I have to do it.
Well, I was about to say to you, I wouldn't wait.
You wouldn't wait.
No, because here's the thing. Think about it for a second. She has what you want. Mm-hmm. So we've got to go to her.
See, so when we talk about networking and reaching out to people, and I'm considering this kind of like a cold call.
But it's not a cold call. Because what you can say is, and I don't know what the gentleman's name is, but what you can say is, your husband suggested that I touch base, or Bill suggested that I touch base, as I'm interested in learning some more information about the radio hosting business, and he said you might have somebody that you could connect me with. And so I'd love to get together. I'm happy to buy you coffee or lunch. And so you make it easy for them.
Right. And then what do you do at coffee? See,
so it's
you have a conversation about what at coffee?
Well, it's a great conversation. And actually the first place that I heard this conversation was in a great book called What Color's Your Parachute? It's an informational conversation. What does it take to be successful? How did you get to where you are? What was your road in?
So it's learning about the person that's sitting in front of you. Now that is easy. I can do that.
Yeah, because you do research.
Right.
And
that's a piece of cake.
If I decide I want to advance in my career, what would you recommend I do? What are the moves you recommend that I make? Because what you're doing is you are asking for the expertise. Mm-hmm. People love to give their expertise.
Right. That is so true. And that is, even from a research standpoint, when I was in college, my dissertation was about how people were successful in college. What did they do to make it through college? And prior to doing all of the interviews with the people I interviewed, my committee warned me, you've got all these interviews lined up, and I was planning on knocking them out in 3 weeks. And they said that's not going to happen because people are not going to show up to interviews. People aren't going to. But guess what? They all wanted to talk about why they got through college.
Exactly.
It was an ego booster. It was one of the things that made them feel good about themselves. So every last one of them showed up to have that conversation.
And if you want to take that to the next level, ask them for their advice. Yes. What would you recommend for somebody like me? And what you get is activity that you can role model. Well, if it worked for that person, there's no reason it can't work for me. Rinse and repeat.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's good. You make it so simple.
It is simple.
Is it really?
It is. You just have to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Well, another thing that I noticed about what you do is that you also talk about language, and you touched on that a little bit, but you talked about how, language can make or break your success, or, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So are you referring to the networking piece?
Yes. Well, yeah, I think there was a piece that talked about, the language you use, the words that you use, and how that makes a difference.
Yeah. For example, let's just go back to the money question that I just described. Mm-hmm. If someone says to you, well, what are you looking to make? And you say, well, can you tell me what the range is for this position? They're going to say, no, I can't. You say, well, what's the range for this position?
Right.
And they'll tell you. In the networking piece, if you're using language that is just right in somebody's face, mm-hmm. I'm looking for a job, you're basically going to get nothing.
Yeah.
But if the language is more about, I'm wanting some information, I'm wanting some help, how did you do this? Mm-hmm. Or if you were going to, if I was interested in looking at this organization, what would you recommend I do? There is one word that is huge in the English language that is very powerful. And if you use it, it's going to really advance your efforts. And that word is if. If I was interested in this, what would you recommend that I do? Okay. If I was interested in this company, who would you recommend that I talk to? If I decided to go into this field, what would you recommend I do? Who would you recommend I talk to? What are the organizations I need to look at?
Right.
So, yes, you're right. Languaging is very important.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, stay with us. We're going to continue this conversation when we come back on the Live Exchange.
Major key alert, life is like school. You will be tested, so pass it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on the vacation to Aruba.
Weird. Not weird. Not saving now means no money later. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, and father of 5. I'm also an expert on drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids, and there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org.
And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Represent. Gotta represent.
Station Network.
Yes, that's awesome.
Too much sauce.
Primary election.
Lack of diversity.
Gas prices.
Michael Jackson. Trending topics.
Right. All right. Trending. We are in a place where apparently the job market is improving. More jobs.
It's better.
It's better.
The economy is better.
Okay.
It's not the best that it's been, but it's much better than it was. Here is the concern. It's a false sense of security on the part of candidates. It's better, so therefore I don't have to put in as much effort.
Okay.
And
by candidates, you mean job applicants.
Exactly.
Correct? Okay.
Anyone who's looking for a job.
Right.
And what the issue is that we've had 7 or 8 years where companies could get the exact candidate they wanted because they had 200, 300, 400 people in their job pool. So when you have 300 people in your job pool, 30 of those people have done the exact job before, at least,
right,
and done it well. Why would I hire somebody I have to train if I can get someone who can hit the ground running?
Right.
Well, guess what? We don't have 300 people in the job pool anymore. Sometimes we do, but it's not like it was before.
Okay.
but companies have not backed off on the idea that they can get the exact right person. So it still takes a long time, by and large, to make a decision. And I always tell my candidates, if they tell you they're going to have a decision in 2 weeks, it's not happening.
Really?
It doesn't typically.
Has it changed that much?
It doesn't typically happen in the time frame they're saying. Now, that doesn't mean it doesn't ever happen that way, but by and large, companies are taking 30, 40 days to make a decision.
What is going on? Why is that?
Because they're thinking, I can get the exact right person, and this person, these 3 people I'm looking at, one of them has 4 of the skills we need, and another one that they don't have, and they all have that, so we don't know who to pick.
Wow.
Now, here's the thing. You've got to, as a candidate, understand that and just realize, number one, if you haven't heard back in 10, 15 days, 2 weeks, it doesn't mean you're out. Number two, you have to have a job search that one of my candidates described this way: an inch deep and 10 miles wide. I never stop networking, I never stop getting information about companies, and I never stop trying to get into organizations, even when I've got 2 or 3 that are really strong.
Right.
Because it takes a while.
Yeah. Wow. 30, 40 days? That seems unacceptable.
That's not unusual.
That is a very long time to be waiting to hear back from a job.
Yeah.
Now, with higher ed, and I think that there may be a difference, I don't know, in the way that the job search process goes in higher ed versus the corporate world, because I know that, for example, if I were to apply to and it's different for faculty than it is for administration. So for an administrative job, when I was applying for those kinds of jobs, it would be a full day campus interview where you would interview with, the different departments that are relevant to the department you're applying to. And then you would interview with the students, a panel of students. And then you would interview with some of the leadership key figures on campus. That would be actually not a 1 day, but a 2 day process, because usually day 1, they take you to dinner. Day 2, you have the full process. And that process alone, can be pretty lengthy. So I can see how from the day that you first get interviewed, how that can take, several weeks. But
I have a candidate who just was up for a position at 2 different universities in my hometown of Richmond, Virginia, and it was 3 months before she knew the answer that she didn't get the job.
Wow. Because usually by the time, now this is, and I've been a part of search committees, by the time we've decided who we're going to bring to the interview, we've narrowed it down to maybe 2 or 3 people who are going to do the campus interviews. Within a week or 2, we know, okay, this was a great one, this was a terrible one, or they were both great, maybe we need to do a follow-up phone call. I just don't recall it taking that long.
How long ago was this?
Well, yeah, that's the point. It's probably about 7 or 8 years ago.
And what I always tell my candidates is, the reality of it is the organization, are a big, huge star in your day. You are a little teeny tiny dot in their day. Not because there's anything wrong with you, but we have business to transact.
Yeah.
And our main business is not hiring somebody.
Wow.
And so things don't happen on the time frame that we want them. On my side of the desk, we want them to happen quickly.
3 months.
Unfortunately, they don't. Now, I'm not saying it's going to take 3 months for everybody.
Right.
But don't be amazed or think that you are in a spot where someone's made a decision no if you haven't heard anything for 30 days.
Wow.
Just make sure, as I said, you have more than one person to go to the dance with.
Yeah, that's true. Wow. Well, it's interesting. One of the things, and again, within the field of higher ed, and this may, you can tell me if this is also applicable to other fields, which I'm pretty sure it is. We have national conferences for National Association of Student Personnel Administrators, and there's a lot of different variations of that. ACPA and NASPA are the 2 largest ones, and they have a huge job fair. And so you go to this conference, and they have a very structured, really well laid out, and they call it the TPE, the something exchange, and I can't think of what it is right now. The placement exchange. So the idea is being placed into a job. This is how I got my first job in higher ed. And they have it where, you sign up, you interview on the spot. They determine whether or not they want to bring you to a campus interview. Now, they may not be able to tell you that day if you're going to come to a campus interview, but you do get the interview on the spot if they, see your resume and they like you. Is that a common way for people to find jobs?
Job fairs are big nowadays, but on the corporate side, at least in the state of Virginia, and I'm feeling like this is probably the way it is all around the country, it's not the way job fairs used to be. When I was at Circuit City Corporate, we had a job fair every week, and it was exactly like you just described. We would interview people on the spot, salespeople on the spot. In today's world, job fairs have gotten so big that most of the time they don't even take resumes.
Really?
Simply because that would make it sound like there was a commitment. So it's a great place to network and make contacts at organizations for a corporate job fair.
So you really, really, really need to know how to network and make
do.
yourself
You can't get
memorable. Memorable. Yeah. That's great. No, this is really good information. Stay with us. We have more for you when you come back on the Live Exchange.
Well, you'll see what happens. Sensation Station Network.
Great leaders aren't born, they're made. And not just anywhere. They're made in special places by special qualified trainers in places like the Academy of Creative Coaching. The Academy of Creative Coaching is an international certification program with courses in health and wellness coaching, spiritual coaching, relationship coaching, executive coaching, life coaching, and cultural competency coaching. Courses are online, hybrid, or face-to-face. The Academy of Creative Coaching is empowering coaches to empower the world. Make a positive change in yourself and the world. Go to academyofcreativecoaching.com.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Keep a little talking to, man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Indoor baseball, anyone?
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
When it comes to saving money, don't act like a baby.
Goo goo gaga.
Be the boss and make a budget.
I'm the boss, baby.
You're the boss of me.
I am the boss of you.
Are not.
M2.
Are not.
M2.
Need a little help?
Aren't you going to do any work?
I'm very busy delegating.
Create a personalized savings plan.
We can share.
You obviously didn't go to business school.
And get other tools and tips at feedthepig.org. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
In the interest of science.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. Science. You know what? I love social science. I'm not really into the other sciences so much.
I'm not a scientist either.
But I love social science. This one is Bordeaux's theory of social reproduction. And what it looks at is 3 different areas of our lives. So it looks at field, it looks at habitus, and it looks at capital. So field from the standpoint of first of all, it explains various spheres of social life. So education, sports, travel. And so social reproduction is really kind of living out your social life. Where are you? What's your status? And kind of how that plays out. So there are So that's the field aspect of it. The field aspect explains various spheres of social life, looking at education, looking at sports, looking at travel. Capital, another part of it, looks at your economic situation, looks at the ways in which you are connected to the cultural landscape of a society. So the arts, how does your social life play out in terms of, cultural capital, and then social capital. And so social capital is, who are you connected with? Who are those people? Like, hopefully soon I'll be connected to this media personality. That's social capital.
Yep.
And so it's looking at how these things economically, culturally, socially are immediately and directly convertible into money. So how is it that the social circles that you're a part of, the social capital that you have, the cultural capital that you attain, how does that convert into money? An example of cultural capital. I, for example, used to host my house as an Airbnb house. And when I did that, the comments I would get every single time, which was shocking to me, was, wow, her house has a lot of books. And I don't know, I love books, so I thought everybody's house had lots of books, and that I have 4 sets of bookshelves, downstairs in the family room filled with books, upstairs in the master bedroom, 3 big bookshelves filled with books, the guest room, so there's books in every room, and they said that love this house because there's just an abundance of books that we can just lay around and read, that we can learn. It feels like a very scholarly environment. That's an example of cultural capital, because one of the things culturally that helps people advance is a love for books and art and certain kinds of music and that kind of thing.
The interesting thing is, when I'm working with folks who've lost a job, everything that you just described there feels like it's been ripped away from them. Their context for fitting into all of that is gone. And so I always recommend that what they do is they think of their job search as their job, and to
absolutely
get a routine around their job search that mimics what they did when they were working.
Right.
If you used to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, don't sleep till 7:30 because you don't have to go to work. Get up at 6 and start your job search.
Absolutely.
And so when you can associate the work of finding a job as a job, then all that other stuff that you just described begins to feel a little bit more normal. It won't feel completely normal until you land that job, but at least you don't feel like you're out on an island all by yourself and no one has ever gone through this before and I'm a useless individual, because you're not. You are a job finder.
Yes.
And that's your job.
And that I love that. And it also feeds into the woe is me if you allow yourself to just kind of sit and not get out there, get out of your house, get out of, wherever you are.
Exactly. Take it as a badge of honor if you've lost your job. When they asked me to leave at Circuit City, one of the managers on my team, one of my compatriots on the team said, "Aren't you nervous?" I went, "No, I hope they're going to ask me to leave. If they don't, then I'm going to be upset." And she said, well, how could you think like that? And I said, well, have you, I don't want to sound like I'm disparaging Circuit City. They're no longer in existence. But I said, lately, over the past year, have you seen a lot of good decisions? And she said, I've seen none. I went, well, therefore, if they ask me to stay, I'm yet another bad decision. And I said to her, if I'm as good as I think I am, I'll be the first person they ask to leave. It wasn't even 8 o'clock in the morning, and I was being walked to the HR office.
Wow.
So
wow.
You look at it as a badge of honor. It's part of today's economy. Love where you are. It's an opportunity.
Yes, always. I think this is really flowing really well into mindset, because your mindset is everything. I mean, if you had been sort of in woe is me mode with that conversation with your colleague that morning, my life is over, this is just terrible, all I have is this job, and then next thing you know, they're walking you out of HR, how would you have responded after, once you're at home?
There would have been no response. I mean, quite literally, I was networking with someone in the car leaving the parking lot on my cell phone.
Wow.
And so here's the way I look at it. If you're feeling upset, that's totally valid. I get it. It's your family. You've been working there for a while if you've lost a job. So I totally get it. The other way to look at it is, what could be great about this? So when you're ready to feel better, that's when you sit down and you say, well, what could be the opportunity?
Right.
And you've got to focus on that. Now, that's the case whether you've lost a job or whether you are looking for a better job. What are my opportunities? What are the advantages? Love wherever you are, and the result is always a better result.
That's really good. Hashtag Love wherever you are, and the result is always a better result. We'll be right back.
People are always looking to invest in a good opportunity. So what if you could invest in the future of kids, like a stock? Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change, called Better Futures. With your investment, it helps students like me go to college. My name is Charles, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. Brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
So, I'm a dog, and I just got adopted by this new human guy, and I'm starting to wonder how he got along without me. I mean, okay, something as simple as walking around the block. He's got this leash thing, and he puts me on one end and him on the other, and I'm just taking him around. I think he's afraid of getting lost. Without that leash and me guiding him along, I don't think he'd find his way back home. But it's kind of cute.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Major key alert. Life is like school. You will be tested, so pass it.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at GetSchooled.com. Brought to you by Get Schooled and the Ad Council.
Hey guys, it's your girl Brenna B. I want to tell you about something pretty amazing. My friends over at Buckhead Laser Lipo have an option for you. You want to lose those inches? You want to get in shape? Spring is here. Summer is upon us. We have a way for you to lose those inches quickly. Immediately see results. $99 is your first treatment. No surgery, no pain, no downtime, just inch loss. Who doesn't want to be in shape for the summer? Buckhead Laser Lipo, 678-871-0097.
BuckheadLaserLipo.com.
All right, welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela. I'm joined with Doug Poynter, who is the owner of, I give him a different title every time, of the School of Success. And we're talking about careers and really how to bounce back. And right before the break, we were talking about making a career. You know, if you're in that place in your life where you are looking for a job, that is your job. That's your career.
That's your job title. Job finder is your job title.
Right. And, you know, and I know people who have witnessed people, you know, searching for jobs and in that place. And I've seen people in two different mindsets in that process. So I've seen one lady I can remember in particular. She got up every morning. She got dressed, she got professional, she went to the library, she used the Wi-Fi to find jobs. She would go in, she was out and about, and she was not at home. I mean, she literally would not come home until about 8 o'clock at night, you know, so she spent her day as a work day. I've known people who do absolutely nothing, and they just kind of, well, no, they didn't call me, so, and it's like,
and nothing happens for those folks.
Right.
You know, and it shakes out, the results shake out depending upon the attitude. I will tell you, probably the greatest example of networking I've ever seen was in 2009. I don't know if you remember the job market in 2009. It was the worst.
That's when I graduated college, my doctoral degree.
It was the worst.
Looking for a job that year.
That was not the time to be looking for a job. 12 months it was taking people to find a job.
Wow.
I had a client back then who was a PhD who ended up selling fragrances at a department store. PhDs were driving taxis in New York City.
Man.
I had a guy in telecom who worked with me for 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, he had 13 interviews and 4 offers in 2009. And what did he do? He did nothing but network. Mm-hmm. And guess what? He was eager to get up and get it every single day.
Yes.
And there was he didn't look at things as they were happening to him. He looked at them as doors that would open, and maybe that door didn't open, so I don't need to be there.
Exactly.
Do you see?
Right.
And then I had folks who would complain about every little thing, and guess what? It didn't happen.
And, you know, and I think employers can sense complainers. I can sense a complainer, and I don't want anything to do with a complainer in my organization.
You can feel it coming off of them.
Yeah.
And so what you need to do is, and here's the reality, both are valid because both things are true.
Right.
You can always find something wrong in any situation.
Absolutely.
And you can always find something great in any situation. It's what we decide to focus on. Mm-hmm. And my thought process is focusing on the good stuff, focusing on the opportunities gives us the energy to go out and do what it is that we need to do. It's not always going to happen in the time frame we want it to happen in, but it happens in the time frame it needs to happen in when we are going to all the effort that we can possibly go to. You can't do that if what you're focused on is what's been taken from you.
Right.
What is now available to me because I'm now no longer in this job, or what is now available to me now that I've changed my mindset and have decided I want to get out of this job that I'm in.
Absolutely.
And focus on that.
Right. Wow. And I think that it's interesting because now I'm trying to analyze my own situation. I didn't realize 2009 was such a difficult job process situation. In my case, and maybe I just got lucky. In my case, I was very intentional now about building my resume and making sure that I had what I need to have on there. I wanted to become a college professor. Fresh out of my doctoral program, had only had, a minimal amount of experience teaching at the doctoral level, at the master's level. But I kept nudging our department chair of the program I graduated from. Hey, if you guys never need anybody, if you ever need anybody, just fill in here and there. And I did that throughout the entire last year of my program. Lo and behold, after I graduated, he said, hey, we got something, just want to see if we can create this position they created a position for me.
Exactly.
And it was only a part-time teaching position. It was part teaching, and the other part of it was academic advising. It was a demotion. Now, from the job I had at the other university, I was climbing up that corporate ladder, and that was, I was actually working at Marquette University. Climbed up that corporate ladder, and I had an opportunity to go into, like, the assistant vice president of student affairs, that kind of thing, and I just wasn't really interested in climbing that ladder. I wanted to go the academic side. So I took this position, which was probably a $15,000 pay cut, and went over there, and I spent a year in that position, and when it was time, a position came up at the university I'm currently at, I jumped on it, and also in that year, I spent time presenting my research around as many conferences as I could present at, as many ways as I can add meat to my...
You were networking.
Is that networking?
That's what you were doing.
Oh, I was networking.
You were seeding and networking.
And that's what I did. And by the end of that year, I was able to say that I presented my research at 13 different conferences. And by the time I applied to the university I'm at now, in hindsight, they're telling me, in the pool of applicants, you were a no-brainer. And I'm like, how? I am a fresh graduate who never taught full-time at a university before. And they said, your application had it outshined those people who are seasoned in the field. That blew me away.
And that's number one. Number two was your presence, your intention, your attitude, and your mindset. I'm going to do this. And if I have to take 2 steps back to get into the area that I want to get into, I'm not looking at that as a demotion. I'm looking at it as the gateway.
Exactly.
So it's all about how you look at it.
Absolutely. And and when I went down there, again, I didn't go down there with the mindset that I've never done this before. I've never taught. Who am I? I absolutely went there saying, in my mind, that I'm the next best thing for this department. And when asked the question, now the last question I was asked was, why should we hire you? You're the youngest applicant, and I don't know if it was okay to say that, but she said that, you're one of the youngest applicants. You have the least amount of experience, but everybody loves you. I have to go in that room and tell people why we would hire you. And I said it. I said, because I really believe, and I don't mean to sound a little, too, I don't know what word I said, but I really believe that I'm the next best thing for this department, because I have a lot of big plans, and I started laying out what my plans are for the next 5 years from a research standpoint, because that was the big thing in this company, or with this university is research. So I laid it all out, and she said, wow.
And you illustrated why you are the next big thing, the great thing that they need there. And so you've got to be able to think that about yourself, but you've also got to be able to articulate it. Why should we hire you?
Right.
It's a great opportunity to say, well, because what you're going to ask me to do, I've been doing for the past 2 or 3 years, or this is my plan. Even if you haven't done the work officially as your job title, if you show somebody how you've done the duty, if you show somebody how you've got the skill set, then That's what they're interested in. Can you do the work? It doesn't matter if you didn't have the job title. It matters if you can do the work.
Right. Wow. And there is a line between being really overly arrogant and being very confident. And somehow I was able to dance that line where it didn't cross over into arrogant. I mean, she actually loved it. She said, oh, I love that answer.
Arrogance is usually talking about things that aren't true. Confidence is talking about what you're sure of because you know that and you've done it.
I love it. Ah, that's so good. It's balance challenge time.
Keeping your balance with Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela. Dr. Pamela.
Okay, so this week Dr. Pamela has a challenge that's going to challenge her too. We are challenging you to engage in 10 networking conversations, unintentional conversations, but intentional. Accidental was the word. Accidental, but on purpose. Networking conversations this week. And apparently, presenting at conferences is networking. And I've been doing that.
You have.
I love it. I love it. And you know what? It is. Because inevitably, if what you have is good stuff, you're going to be surrounded by people at the end of the conversation, at the end of your presentation, who are going to want to learn more, who are going to want to know how to contact you, how to get your information. And so, yeah, and I think that's the best networking because I don't have to do anything. I just present. And then I stand there and people come up to me.
It's all a seed.
I love it. I love it. So that is your challenge for this week. I want you to engage in 10 accidental and yet intentional networking conversations throughout the week. Find ways to engage in that conversation. If you're standing in an elevator, if you're sitting in a coffee house.
Doesn't matter where you are.
You're at a baseball game.
You can have a conversation. Real life is a great opportunity for networking.
Right. And I think what Doug had said earlier was that just be, you didn't use this word, but it's the same thing. Be curious about the person that's sitting next to you. Ask them questions about who they are. We talk about this in my coaching academy. There's a seed.
Good job. That's one. That's one.
That's one. The Academy of Creative Coaching, we have a module where we talk about building relationships and asking and being curious about the person that's sitting in front of you because it really should be more about them than it is about you. And when a person feels like it's more about them, they are going to open up to you in ways that you didn't even necessarily expect.
You're right on the money. It's the same thing for networking for a job, networking for a new career move. When you want to find out more about the person you're talking to, they can feel that, and it opens them up.
And they can feel when it's fake, too.
They can.
So you have to have a genuine curiosity about the person that is in front of you, behind you, wherever, in order to get what you want from them.
Well, and so let me say something else also. Okay. With these types of conversations, you've got to be satisfied with just getting info. You might not get a way into a company, but you know what? You've got another contact.
Right.
You've got somebody else that you know, somebody else that you can talk to, and you've gotten some more information. That might be all you get. You've got to be satisfied with it. You can't stomp off upset because someone didn't invite you in for an interview.
Right.
But guess what? If you just keep that process going and you never stop that, you'll start to see results.
Doug, I think that's part of my problem, though, is that all I want is information. Sometimes I'm just curious, and I just want to know more about the person, and I don't do the dropping the seed, or I don't, try to aspire to the next level of getting that contact. I just want to have a conversation.
So, and that's great, but if there is something in it that you would love to get out of it at some point, at the end of it, you could say, like we mentioned before, if a person like me wanted to figure out how to take this a little bit further, what would you recommend I do?
Right.
And
so that's a good question.
Then you are asking for their expertise.
Right. That's good. I'm going to practice that this week. So the balance challenge is for me, too. I'm going to utilize this.
You can do it. Everybody can do it.
I can do it. All right. So we're going to break, and we'll be right back.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do.
Know someone being bullied online? You can be a witness and make a difference by letting the world know it isn't cool, and by letting your friend know you care. Learn more at eyewitnessbullying.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Coming to Tampa Bay, I said we want to win a Super Bowl, and I believe we will.
From IamSecond.com.
We came close, but never really did win that championship.
Former NFL head coach Tony Dungy.
At the end of my 6th year, I was fired, and it was one of the biggest disappointments of my life. Next year, I'm in Indianapolis, get to the playoffs, but get knocked out again. And for the next couple of years, it's the same thing. Everyone is saying Colts are never going to win one. And I did wonder, why didn't it pan out the way I thought it would? But I determined that I had to have Christ first, and that everything else came below that, including my own desires. The next year, that ended up being our year to go to the Super Bowl and win it. And it was a wonderful feeling. Every decision I make, I'm going to make it through the lens of Jesus Christ, and He guides us to that ultimate victory. I'm Tony Dungy, and I am second.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. You know, I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Green light. Hey girl. School zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah. Street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
People are always looking to invest in a good opportunity. So what if you could invest in the future of kids, like a stock? Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change, called Better Futures. With your investment, it helps students like me go to college. My name is Charles, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. Brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is big business. This is the American way.
Sensation Station Network.
See ya.
Welcome back to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and we are close to the tail end of the show, and I do not want us to leave the show without getting some information about Doug and his organization and what he does, and also for you to be able to benefit from his services.
Yeah, my website is www.theschoolofsuccess.com, and I've got a lot of really cool free information on there that you can get, some downloads, some cheat sheets, and I think I've got another new one coming out this week called The Biggest Mistake You Can Make That'll Keep You from Landing Your Dream Job. My web guy is working hard to get that up, so I'm hoping it's up there now, but if not, it will be in the next week or so.
That's a big one.
Yep, so you can get those free downloads, and if you are interested, you have the ability to go on my website and schedule a strategy session. So it's a discovery session, strategy session. There's no cost for it. It's complimentary. It's on us.
Oh, come on, you guys.
And in it, what we'll do is we'll determine kind of where you are and what you need, and what your issues are and whether or not we can help you. So
that's awesome.
It's right up there on the toolbar. It says schedule a strategy session. So
oh, wow. So that is theschoolofsuccess.com.
That is.
And schedule a strategy session. This is free, you guys. So if you think the information that you got on the show today was good, imagine how this information might help you by having some one-on-one contact with the man himself, Doug Poynter.
So check it out. One of my team, a member of my team does the strategy sessions, but what we are determining, again, is where you are, what you need, what your issues are, and whether I can help you. And, I do individual consulting with folks and programs. Got all kinds of different programs that we could get involved with. But take advantage of the free downloads and take advantage of the strategy session.
I love it. Okay, so I have to ask you, as a consultant, as a coach, what was probably, or some maybe, of the most interesting situations that you have come across? I know I'm asking you this on the spot. I didn't even give him a warning.
You are. I had a client one time that said to me, no matter what you say to me, I'm going to disagree with you. And, you know, my question at that point is, well, why are you here if you don't want me to help you? You know, it's very, very rare that something like that would happen. But, you know, the thing that's the most likely to happen, and it's happened on a number of occasions, is the people that I meet are so unbelievable. I've gotten so many great friends out of this. And I've gotten I've got a couple of former clients that we always sit down and figure out, okay, what can we do to help kids? What can we do to figure out a way to make it easier for kids to enter the market and have a great life? There's a lot of kids who don't want to go to college, for example.
Right.
There's all kinds of work that they can do in the manufacturing world where they can make a lot of money, but it doesn't seem very glamorous.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, because of the way it's presented, or is it just the job is just not glamorous?
Well, the job is not all that glamorous, but, you know, when we were talking about, well, how could we present it, I said, you know, what we need to do, and the client that I'm working on this with is out of the manufacturing world who's retired, and I said, what we need to do is show the kind of life that you lead and the folks that you've worked with, because you live in a really big, nice house, and, you know, and so a lot of times kids think, you know, if I'm on a manufacturing floor, I'm never going to be able to do that. The only way I can do that is to be in showbiz or be an athlete, and not very many people can be in showbiz or be an athlete.
Right.
But a lot of people can enter the manufacturing world. And I said, we have to glamorize it. So, you know, this has come from my relationships with people, helping them find a job or a career that they would love, or negotiating them through retirement, you know?
Wow.
And so, yeah, those things happen every day.
So what's interesting, though, is that there are many jobs that, you know, people can get master's degrees in, or I'm sorry, there are many fields in which people can get a master's degree and still make less money than some entry-level positions in other fields.
Exactly.
In other industries.
Exactly. So, you know, there's quite a bit of opportunity out there. You just have to be open to it. You have to understand that there's going to be some effort. There's going to be some networking to find that job. And then once you get in that job, there's going to be some time to ramp up and become good at it. It's not going to happen in 6 months.
Right, right. And that's that's a big frustration, I know, for a lot of people. One thing that I'm seeing, and I don't know if this is more so the case in modern day than in the past, but students wanting, now I'm talking about college students, graduates, who pursue a career because that's what their parents told them they need to do. And I know that's not a new phenomenon, but for example, I had our students, for one of the assignments, they needed to do 3 coaching sessions with another student in practice and see what it's like to kind of coach somebody to the accomplishment of a goal. And that student, one of the students said she initially wanted to be coached around which medical field concentration. She's already accepted to medical school. Which concentration did she want to do? In that coaching experience, 3 sessions, they determined, I don't want to go to medical school at all. And she's now exploring psychiatry. And, you know, how often do you have people come to you trying to pursue something that really isn't in the realm of who they are?
Unbelievable. I work with people also who have retired and want to figure out what they want to do with their retirement. They can afford not to work, but they want to work. And so I say, well, what would that be? And does it not make sense that if you don't have to, but you want to, it should be just something fun,
right,
a passion? What is it? And they don't know, which means they have never known for 30 years or 35 years. Nose to the grindstone, earning money, that's all that they've done.
Wow.
And so I always ask the question, if I could wave a magic wand and I had the power to let you do the thing that you've always wanted to do that's unrealistic, the fantasy,
what would it go there? Yeah.
Yep, what would it be? And so the interesting thing is that, you know, from my perspective, wouldn't it be great if we found that out when you were 22 rather than you're now 62 coming to me,
right,
and you have spent your whole life doing things that you don't want to do? You'd be surprised what happens when you can incorporate your passion into your job search.
Yeah.
Because that's what fires people up and gets them excited.
Absolutely.
And that's what creates result.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It pains me to think of people who have spent so much time in something that they are just like, you know, it just pays the bills. There's a lot of people living like that, and that's fine. But at some point, you're going to come to a point where you just can't. I really need to pursue what it is that I'm passionate about or what I'm here for. A lot of people, and when they get to that point, a lot of people may dismiss it and say it's too late. And that's the thing. It's not necessarily
It's never
too
too late.
Yeah.
It's never too late. I have a client right now that buys me lunch every year because he said, I finally listened to you. And he said, I looked at what it is that I love to do. And he was able to go from a sales position to a teaching position because that's what his passion was. He said, I wish I had listened to you because it worked when I opened myself up to that.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the biggest fear for a lot of people, is to open up, is to take that step, is to take a job out of state, out of the country. You know, a lot of international opportunities are opening up, and, you know, people are terrified.
They are.
To make that step.
They are. It's a scary thought to go away from the trend, go away from what it is that I've done. But, you know, it never hurts to understand what your passion is. You know, I had a lady, one of my clients, tell me that her passion, the things she could do, or if she could do whatever she wanted to do, it would be backup singer for Tina Turner.
I love it.
All right, now, look, she's not singing for Tina Turner because she can't sing. But what we did was we thought and we talked about, well, what is it about that excites you?
That's
is it
key.
showbiz? Is it the big production? Is it the support? Is it just the craziness of the event? And so how can we then work that into the plausible job search?
I love it.
You know?
Karaoke.
Right.
No, that's great. And that is why a coach is so important, because a coach can help you ask those very kind of questions. You know, okay, so maybe singing with Tina Turner is not the answer, but what is it about that experience that makes you want to, you know, that gives you energy, that gives you life?
Exactly. And, you know, I do that with my clients, and I know you do that with your clients also.
Yes.
So, you know, it is helping people, walking them down that pathway, and maybe sometimes helping them see something that maybe they didn't see very clearly, or maybe they just ignored it because it seemed to be scary.
Right. So for all of you out there who are questioning the value of a coach and saying, oh, that coaching stuff is a scam, it really is not. It is a legitimate field that is truly helping people and changing lives. And so here's a prime example of exactly that. And so once again, you can find Doug at theschoolofsuccess.com and learn about all of the services available and take advantage of a free strategy session.
That's correct.
With a member of his team. And so that is a really huge opportunity to be able to do that.
Yep, we'd love to see if we can help you.
Yeah, so this is great. I'm so grateful that you came. This is awesome.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Live Exchange. I'm Dr. Pamela, and this is another great conversation. If you missed out, go to the liveexchangeradio.com. You can find our YouTube channel there. Also, go to Sensation Station Network, where you can download our app because it is new, and you want to be a part of all things new with the Sensation Station Network. I'm Dr. Pamela. I will see you next week. Remember, it is your life. Love it.